Hello, what's going on? This is Tallin55, and today I'm going to be showing off a new mechanic that came up while messing around with mob AIs. Have you ever wanted to play tag but haven't had a player to help you? Well, look no further, because I've just made it so that this zombie runs around trying to evade you. Oh, so if you tag him, then he will run after you. It'll give you a little message and he'll run after you. Now, as some of you have probably guessed already, the zombie, when it's running away, is using the Ocelot AI, and when it's chasing you, it's using the zombie AI. So what I'm doing is I have an invisible Ocelot underneath the feet of the zombie, which runs away. It's obviously, as I said, invisible, but it is invulnerable as well, and also it's being constantly teleported to the zombie. Now, there's basically really one scoreboard mechanic that's running this. It's entity it, which is a scoreboard objective, which I toggle based on which mob is it, the player or the zombie. So if it's 0, then the zombie is not it, and so the Ocelot AI is the one running it. So the zombie is being teleported to the Ocelot, which is various status effects for balancing. However, I seem to have lost it. However, oh, there it is. However, if the entity it objective is set to 1, then the zombie is it, and so the Ocelot is being teleported to the zombie. Whoa! It's a very good thing that thing has regeneration. So, okay, hold on, I was just tagged last, so that means, oh, never mind. Yeah, it's a good thing that I gave the zombie permanent status effects for instant damage, which, as you may know, will make it so that, in fact, doesn't take damage at all, because it has permanent, basically instant damage potions being thrown at it, which is nice. Anyway, so occasionally it gets stuck. That's just a problem with both the zombie and Ocelot AIs. But all you need to do is move around a bit. It jukes like a pro, which is pretty cool. And so if I tag it, then it lets it know. Ow! If the player has the proper, if the global playing tag, okay, so if the global fake player that I use for settings is has a player score of 1, then it knows that there's somebody playing, and so all players who also have a player score of 1 are playing. But in a moment, I'll go ahead and show you. I'll go ahead and show you the command blocks that run this thing. Alright, so here we are. Now, not all of these command blocks actually go towards running the minigame itself. In fact, most of them don't. For example, this here controls the weather. I'll show you how this system works later. But for now, basically all you need to know is that I've got a field clock behind this wall here, which runs basically everything on this entire floor. If you place down a stone block, it gets converted to a redstone block, and a redstone block will automatically become a field clock, which just makes it a lot easier to build field clocks and such. And I have arrows indicating the direction of the X and Z axes, which means that you can easily tell what direction command blocks will be run in. Anyway, so these just control game modes and teams based on a scoreboard objective. Again, not part of the actual minigame, just like the weather isn't. But I always have that kind of thing in the game, so I can easily control people's game modes and such if I wanted to, say, publish a minigame. So these command blocks here affect the status effects of zombies, ocelots, and well, just they prevent things from, like, for example, during daytime, zombies catch fire. So this one prevents them from taking damage from fire, and this one prevents them from catching fire at all visually. This one heals all zombies that are named Tag Buddy. This one gives, and these two are for balancing of the ocelots. Now, when I initially set up the tag game, which is what basically this array does here, when I initially set it up, I made it so that the speed for the zombie, where is that? Right here. Was just part of the main chain of command blocks here, when in reality I should have probably just plopped it down in the line here, but that doesn't really matter. This one sets, okay, this one I didn't show off, but the command block on the end here, if I were to set my, if I were to change the scoreboard objective set display value, whatever, just sidebar, and I changed it to score, you'll see that my score, I had a score which I didn't really show off, but if I go ahead and if I were to be not it, the longer I evade the zombie, the higher my score goes, which is pretty cool. I'll just clear that real quick. Anyway, so you your status effects for your mobs. You have your score for not being it. Now, what the zombie behavior is right here. This controls, like, half of them control when it's, half of them control when the zombie's it, half of them control when the ocelot is it. I say it, but I mean which one is, which AI the mob is using. And then these command blocks here just let me manually set things like TP the zombie to spawn, make the zombie it, make the player it. So for example, I can do that. I didn't actually set it up so that the messages play when the player, when it changes, just when the event. Okay, basically the messages come around. You know, why don't I just show you the command blocks? So this is the message for okay, let's try this again. At the beginning of this, there's an execute command which detects when the zombies which detects when the zombie tags something, because that it detects damage taken in a radius of 7 around the zombie. So damage taken and damage dealt are objectives that only players get. So if the zombie tags a player, that's how the player's gonna. That's the only way that the entity that is it is going to change. If the damage taken, which means that a player nearby took damage within a 7 block radius, if that happens, it'll tell you a message: X player, whatever, was tagged by zombie. And then this does the same thing, but the other way around. So if there's if the zombie is not it, and there's a player with a damage dealt score in a radius of 7, which means that, say, if you were to kill a bunny in a radius of 7 around the zombie, it would count as if you tagged the zombie. But I think that's a minor enough detail that if you wanted to, say, control a minigame, you just exclude other mobs. And if you had multiple players, you'd make it so that, I don't know, the players just, well, you'd set it up so that the players didn't have PvP on. Like, for example, you could just have the server PvP off, or you could add the friendly fire false option for teams. Anyway, so those are just the messages, and these ones use the exact same execute later. No, notice the arrow later in the cycle, so that for one tick it sends the message, and then the next tick it changes the it tags the player, makes the player the entity that is it, by setting the zombie's entity it score to 0. And then it does the inverse of that, using again the same execute score as the tag zombie message. So for one tick it displays the message, and then the next tick it's already changed it to a different entity being it. And this just prevents the zombie from going too far from the spawn that I set up. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. It's not too complicated. Actually, no, before I wrap this up, this one lets me change if people are playing, and if they are, then I give players regeneration and saturation, just for fun. Just so that the zombie doesn't murder the player who's playing tag. And then just to clear everything up at the end, I have damage taken and damage dealt being cleared for all players whose score is greater than 1 in those two at the very far side of the map. At the very far side of the command block area. This is a very good system to use. Have all your command blocks over here, and then at the very far corner you have damage taken and damage dealt, or whatever variables you need that you only want to be showing up for a tick to be, like for example, if I didn't have that, then every time I tagged the first time I tagged the zombie, my damage dealt score would go up, but it would never come back down. So every time I went near, so every time I, basically it would be an instant tag back, because every time I hit the zombie, since my damage dealt score wouldn't be being reset, it would only increase a score that was already greater than 1. So it wouldn't change. It wouldn't send. This system over here wouldn't detect any change. So yeah, that is it, and I'll see you guys next time.